But after that, I became very scientific agnostic. And so I just didn't really believe in anything. I thought, I loved studying other cultures and other religions, but I thought that it was like a mass delusion. um, until I woke up and I realized that everything is God experiencing itself with different levels of consciousness.
So you believe that God separates itself into billions, if not trillions of pieces to experience everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
then when we go back, we are God again.
So I think it just depends I had an experience like when I had my experience of union with God, it was like waking up from the dream of Anna. I woke up from the dream of Anna. Anna did not exist. The universe didn't exist. Earth, nothing. All of it was just in my head, in my consciousness. I was in the void. I wasn't in the void. I was the void. I was pure consciousness. I knew that I was everything that ever was and ever would be. And I was in the eternal now moment. And I knew that I always would be. And I always, you know, and and so I could see, it was just, I could see my own thoughts before they manifest. I could see God's thoughts before they manifest. And they look like sacred geometry, like fractals. And they have a color. Even though it was black, like there was nothing, no stars, nothing. I was that vast, infinite awareness. And then I remember my first thought. And that thought was, who am I? Like, what is this? Who am I? And as soon as I had that thought, there was this explosion, this epic, heart-wrenching roar, but it was a silent roar. And that burst forth from my heart. And that was the Big Bang, the first original Big Bang. Since then, I've experienced multiple other Big Bangs, and they were not so heart-wrenching. They actually were with the thought of let there be light, and with joy and with laughter, and just with the awareness that the illusion of separation is only temporary, and that eternity is a long time, but there are multiple eternities.
I think it's fascinating how you said that you were the void. And I need to remember that because I have so many near-death experiencers that go to the void to see if they actually feel like they were it.
Yes, yeah, because there's different voids. There's like the void of space, which is not actually a void because there's still stars and planets and gases and, other life there. And in the void that I was, there was nothing except me, pure consciousness. And it was totally neutral. There was no duality. There was no good. There was no evil. Everything was just neutral because there was only me. And so when I came back into form as Anna, this happened, like I call it my 7-day samadhi. It happened over 7 days. So every time I would sleep, Anna would disappear and I was the void. And every time Anna would wake up, I would come back into form as particles of light coming through my heart in like the shape of a torus, like a toroidal field. And so that is how Anna and the universe came into form for 7 days. And I realized that everything is just a projection of my consciousness. So my universe, I am just a projection of your consciousness. You are just a projection of my consciousness. So It's what if you want to change the world, the best thing to do is to change yourself. And you will, and that's what I've started doing now is just focusing on myself, focusing on being love, focusing on what I want to create. Um, and yeah, my life has changed, and I'm able to touch other aspects of myself, um, who want to do the same thing too.
When you were the void and you asked yourself, who am I?
Mhm.
Is that when you got the realization that you are God?
No, no. So I was the void. I was pure consciousness, and I instantly knew that I was all that is. I am. There's nothing that I am not. And when I asked, who am I? That is when I instantly, that's when, that's when I created separation, because just that thought, it creates like instantly the assumption that there's anything other than myself.
Okay, so that's interesting. So at that point, then you separated from everything just by asking or wondering who you were.
I separated into everything.
Into,
Yeah.
I thought you were everything and then you
So
threw
I
it.
was nothing. I was just pure consciousness.
Okay.
I was the void.
Okay.
And then when I asked that question is when instantaneously there was the Big Bang. That was how creation came into existence. That is how the physical dimension came into existence. So looking back at like mythology, in Hindu tradition, even in like Greek tradition or Roman tradition, where you have like um, Zeus and Athena, who was born from the mind, from the head of Zeus. That's something similar to. I can now understand where that mythology comes from, because the void is like the mind and the womb of God. So the thoughts are like the seeds. All and that is who we are. So our thoughts are like seeds. And then when they manifest is when they're actually born. And so like the physical plane, it is inside of the mind of God, but it is also like the light, what we call source, that is the heart of God. And that's where Christed beings, aspects of ourselves all come from. And that's why they are pure love. And yeah, and we are, so when I had that for days afterwards, I had this feeling of longing. It was so intense and so painful, that feeling of separation. I could have easily, I would have been happy to die, because I just wanted to be together again. It was a love and a longing that was so powerful. It was almost too much for my physical vessel to contain. And so I asked for it to end. I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, either take me or finish this. I can't feel that the longing, that we are loved so much. We are loved more than we can possibly imagine. We are worthy because we exist. We are all thoughts in the mind of God. Anna is a lucid dream in the mind of God, and Jeff is a lucid dream in the mind of God. And yeah, it's just it was pretty epic integrating all of that. And I think I still do it a little bit every day, because since then I've had experiences where um I remember I have it's hard to put into words.
That's true.
Yeah. But like if I could say I was any religion, it would be love. love is my religion now.
Have you had visions of the future?
Yes,
How do you have
absolutely.
them?
So now, just going into that eternal now moment, I can see all the possible trajectories, from the here now. But when the first time I received visions of the future was back in 2013, and this was while in the astral, traveling in the astral plane. I was brought to a higher level by a guide who I have no previous memory of, but who, when she came to me, there was an instant recognition, like a heart connection, as if she were my sister. And she was Native American, and I could feel her warmth, and somehow we had a connection. So I'm guessing we hang out in between lives, right? And so she took me to a higher plane where there was this gathering of thousands of other beings, and there was it. So it was like it reminds me a lot of Yellowstone, because there were, evergreen trees, there was this river, there were like mountains, and then there was this clearing, and in the clearing there was this table that was like a conference table, but it went out as far as the eye could see, and there were thousands of people sitting on either side of it. But the table itself, it was like kind of like a holographic, um, kind of like a an iPad, I guess, but it projected images, and everybody could see something in front of them that was related to why we were there. And so as we landed there, um, I could see the over the shoulders of the three people who were nearest to me, and so they what I saw was the three things that were soon to be. So in that space, it was again the eternal now moment. So I knew instantaneously that what I was shown was events that were soon to be, that are happening now, and it's like the timeline that we were on. And so what I saw was wildfires all over the planet. Um, and that was the first image. And then the second image was just human strife, particularly young children being pulled out of like concrete dust. And I knew, just by in that state, everything. Just by being in the presence, every little detail. So I knew that these were wildfires that were all over the planet. I knew that, this was years before they actually happened. So I knew that the Amazon was going to catch on fire. I knew Australia was going to catch a fire. I knew that the tundra in Siberia was going to catch on fire. And then, of course, the wildfires in Texas and California and other places, like the whole world. This is like a purge, like a clearing, Mother Earth. And then I knew that the concrete, the children being pulled, I knew that that was had to do with the Middle East, with Israel and Gaza. And I didn't even know what Gaza was at the time. Um, and then the final one that I was shown, the very last one, it was an image that kept fading back and forth between two images. And one was like kind of apocalyptic, like total devastation. And then the other one was like heaven on earth. And I was like, how is that? How does that work? And so later on, I got clarity on that. But So all of that actually happened very quickly. And as I arrived, there was someone who arrived there to greet me, and we were all waiting for him. And he arrived, and I recognized him. I didn't know who he was at the time. I had no previous spiritual practice, nothing, when this happened. But he was, I recognized him as one of the archangels. He did not have wings, but I knew he was thousands, if not millions of years old, just being in his presence. He was, there was something in me that instantly recognized his authority. And he was just incredibly beautiful, but also very serious. Like, okay, we are here to do business, you know. And so I knew that we were all there to prepare for what was to come, you know. And you may have been there too. You may have been one of those people at that table.
Well, can you
Yeah.
give us some clarity on what's going on between apocalypse and paradise? Are those two possibilities, or does one follow the other?
So, yes. So what I have come to understand since then is that both will happen or have already happened, that Earth is just a shadow. This experience that we are having right now is just a shadow of heaven, or what some people call heaven. And we've already done this. We are coming back to heal, to correct this timeline. And this is how we achieve self-mastery, through perceived limitation. And so what we experience depends on our choices, right? Do we choose to live fearlessly? Do we choose to live compassionately? If we do, then we will experience heaven on earth. If we don't, then we may not. We may just, go out of the body, leave the body. But what's happening right now is we're being given an opportunity to make an evolutionary leap in consciousness as a collective with the planet, with Mother Earth. She is conscious. Everything is conscious. But she is like she has a soul, which is like an archangel herself. And she is evolving. Everything is evolving right now. We are coming to an end of an age. And this is a tradition that goes through many cultures. And this is where the anthropologist in me comes out. So this is a cycle, and we are coming to the end and the beginning of a cycle, and it goes by many names in different cultures. It is like in Hindu tradition, it's called Kali Yuga, and we're moving from Kali Yuga into Sat Yuga, from, like a darker age into the golden age, into the age of Aquarius, in the new age culture. But yeah, since, in Mesoamerica, this was called Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, who brings knowledge and wisdom to humanity. And this is a celestial event. It's a cosmic event, and it's not just happening here on Earth, it's happening throughout the solar system and the cosmos. And so, yeah, that's how the evolution of consciousness goes. It's not just like a cycle, but it's also like a corkscrew, or like a screw. So right now we are at the lowest level in our evolution for this cycle, but we're still higher than we were the last time we were in this same space, in this same place. And so the next high is going to be higher than any high before, and the next low is also going to be higher than every low before.
Do you have a timeline for when this final vision will happen?
In our lifetime, I was shown what I don't look a lot different than what I do now.
Hmm.
And yeah, and it could happen this year, it could happen 2 years from now, it could happen a decade from now, but it will definitely happen in our lifetime. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna
And
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So yeah, people talk about past lives, future lives, parallel lives, everything is now, and this is the only life that matters.
While working as a nurse in the hospital, have you ever had any mystical or metaphysical experiences?
Yes, yeah, I've had a handful of them. Let's see, one of my most memorable was I had a patient who died in my arms and came back. She was gone for like 20 seconds. Her heart was stopped. And she got a glimpse of the other side. And before dying, she had been a very anxious patient. She was very resistant to her hospitalization. She just felt she was very apologetic, like apologizing for having to be a patient in the ICU. And I was just trying to comfort her, and it's okay, this is what we do. And and then when she died and came back, she was just totally receptive, totally open and grateful and allowing. And when she left, she came back like, where am I? She said, where am I? And I was like, you're in the hospital. What did you see? And she said, they told me, it's okay. You are royalty. We are all royalty. And I was like, who's they? And then that's when that it started to fade away for her. She wasn't meant to remember that. But it was her soul family, or the angels. She was like glowing when she came back. And yeah, that was a pretty, like, just the energy that happened when she came back was palpable. And yeah, that was a very interesting experience. And then I've had other experiences, like with death as well. This was when I was still a student nurse. My She wasn't even my patient. I just went in there because she was in need of help. She was screaming and afraid, and she had been in there because I think she had dementia. And so she was afraid. She was alone. She was tied to the bed for her own safety. And so I went in there to comfort her, and she was like, I'm going to be late. Where are my things? I need to catch the ferry. I don't want to miss the ferry. And where's my son? Is he, and so I asked her, do you know where you are? And you're in the hospital, right? And she's like, yes, yes, but I need to gather my things. I don't want to be late. And so I comforted her, left, and about 20 minutes later for her, she ended up coding. And they attempted like 2 or 3 times to revitalize her, to resuscitate her. And I knew throughout the entire time she was not in her body. I knew she was not going to come back. And I instantly knew that she was talking about like the river Styx, she was going to go on the ferry. She knew there was a part of her that knew she was leaving. So that was pretty cool. I thought it was very beautiful.
That is interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. And then I've had other patients who, in the ICU, some of them are terminal and are on hospice, and they see loved ones who come in. It's usually like in the corner. They start talking to them and seeing them. And I had one who saw her dogs who were all around her bed. She was like, I know they're not here, but I can see them. They're all around my bed, their little tails wagging. Yeah, so mhm.
When you see them doing that, do you feel like they are really seeing these beings, or do you feel like they're kind of delusional or something?
Oh no, I 100% believe that they are seeing it. They're seeing it. And they're lucid enough to know that, I know I'm not supposed to be seeing this sometimes. Sometimes it's just like as clear to them as you and I. They're in between. They're in between, so everything looks the same.
I'm going to switch gears with you.
Sure.
You are also an author of a book of poetry called Eternal Love of Dream, God and His Beloved. Can you tell us a
Sure.
little about that?
Yeah, so that book, I decided to basically I had to give birth to it. I had to just let it out, and I wrote it more for myself, but I also find it to be very activating for anyone who listens to it or who reads it. And so I that's basically me channeling like Rumi, the Sophie poet and mystic, and talking about my experiences of the void, of the mind of God, of the light, of my visions of the future, and just of the truest, most absolute who we are, who we are. That's that's all that is. Yeah.
Well, after watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions. Are you open to that? And if so, how do they connect with you?
Yeah, you can email me. My email is elmore.anna@gmail.com. You can also reach me through my website, ascendwithanna.com. Those are the best ways to reach me.
All right. Do you have anything else that you're working on that you want us to know about?
Um, at the moment, I'm just working on the second and third in the series of my Eternal Love of Dream series. And other than that, I'm just, working on sharing my knowledge and my wisdom and my experiences. We are all pieces of the puzzle, very necessary pieces of the puzzle. And so, yeah, that's about it.
Well, before we finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
Sure, yeah. Just remember who you are. We are just pretending to be mortal, and heaven on earth is God's plan. It's going to happen.
Hmm.
And yeah, just be kind, be fearless, be love, because that is who you are.
Anna, thank you for your message and thank you for being my guest.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jeff.